Make sure you click the link in the description to shop and check out all my new merch. We got the Intelligence Over Ignorance, Detroit Home of the Hustlers, Against the Grain, plus Doc Hicks TV, t-shirts and hoodies, mugs, and stickers. Like after that situation, like, you know, kind of fast forward a little bit, like after that situation and they go through the process of being sentenced, how did you like process that once you found out your sentencing? How did you process it and still, you know, especially being super aware, coherent, everything today is, you know, mentally, and how did you process it and stay mentally and physically strong through it? Did it break your spirits at any point in time, or like how did you process once you knew that you had to do that long of a stint?
I look at that a couple ways. One of them is my homies looked at me with a certain kind of empathy that I couldn't appreciate at the time, but now I understood it. I understand it. The homies was on my bumper before I ever got to trial about dips and pull-ups and push-ups and burpees and the way I ate, about the way anybody, that same psychology. When I went in the court tank, it didn't matter who was in that tank. You go up in that tank, somebody asks you where you from, it's the block, period. And so I was being trained to be a terminator the whole time I was in the county jail, because they threw me when I was 18 years old. I got sent to the county jail and was thrown in 200 pod with people that was fighting real cases. And once that advanced enough in the media and things like that, and it was clear like this dude going to the pen, they put me in 300 pod with adults who were 100% either coming from prison on a parole or on their way to prison. And it was a murder case over here, a kidnap robbery over there. It was a 100% high power superior court in my tank. Yeah. And so I was with people who just left a level 4 yard on their way home, and they was looking at me like, damn, you know, the little homie about to go through it. He don't know what he about to go through. And so they was on my bumper, work out. You got to work out. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to fight like this. You got to be prepared for A, B, C, and D. And so when I went to court, I already knew they was about to do that to me. And when it happened, it just validated a certain kind of hatred that I was operating with for America. You know, I come from that, Rodney King beating era. Mm-hmm. I come from that, watched the O.J. Simpson trial, watched Tupac get sent to prison for a rape case they knew he didn't do, watch him send Mike Tyson to the pen for a rape case when a woman come to his hotel with a trench coat on, butt naked under it at 2 a.m, and then lock him up like he had to rape her. You know, and then understanding the empathy for victims too. So like I had a long way to go, but I came from that psychology where to me, Mike Tyson got ate alive by Americans that they tried to eat OJ alive. You know, whether he was guilty or innocent is another thing. That didn't matter to me. I perceived it as this machine. Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted with the 3 Ks, attempted to eat my species, and so they was knocking us down, and I hated them, bro. And so by the time they sentenced me for that, that's what I perceived they was gonna do. Because let me tell you something. I know you want to stay in a certain order, but let me give you some perspective, brother. Right now, I was 17 years old when I caught my case, and I was remanded over to adult court by a district attorney. That's presently not legal in the state of California. A 17-year-old juvenile is sent to a judge in juvenile court, and that judge has to make a decision whether or not that child should be processed through the juvenile justice system, and the emphasis is on that occurring, that children are to be prosecuted as children, and that anybody under the age of 25 has an underdeveloped prefrontal lobe. The cortex is not developed, and therefore should be given consideration as a youth offender. This is United States Supreme Court, right? Yeah. Miller versus Alabama, Montgomery, like these Supreme Court cases. So what happened to me in the juvenile justice system is not legal, 1. 2, it's presently not legal to send a juvenile into an adult facility to be influenced by mastermind, high-powered criminal elements. So that's not legal. So where they put me when I was a juvenile is not legal. So trying me as an adult through the district attorney's not legal. Sending me to be housed with hardened criminals is not legal. Throwing me to the wolves, that's no longer legal. Number 3, they not allowed legally to send you. They have to put you somewhere more conducive to rehabilitation as a youth offender. They sent me to New Folsom, brothers, and that's not legal no more. Number 4, the felony murder rule, where if 5 of y'all got in the car and drove up to a place and one of y'all killed somebody, it's no longer legal for all 5 people to be convicted of murder. Governor Jerry Brown just eradicated that. So I just gave you 5 things. Understand that I literally, if I got arrested for the same crime right now, it would not be legal for me to have done 20. It would not be legal for me to experience what I just experienced. It wouldn't be possible for me to be charged with murder. It wouldn't be possible for me to be convicted of murder. I wouldn't do a day in prison. I wouldn't have done a day in prison for my crime, maybe except for trespassing and maybe a breaking and entering would have been the best. And I wasn't guilty of kicking nobody's door down. Right. So I'm not guilty of kicking nobody's door down. And it's all this hatred on my name, bro, and I tolerate it because I'm trying to be respectful to Miss Harrison. I don't feel like I would never speak ill of the dead, and there ain't a bad thing you could say about her. She was a phenomenal human being from all accounts and everything that I had to learn about her. But I could tell you that I came from a culture where you didn't say nothing, bro. And so I never defended myself publicly. There ain't nobody you could find nowhere in an article where I ever said Maurice Proctor killed Patricia Harris. It's been 26 years, and it ain't never been. I never said it. And that brother went home acquitted on May 17th, 1996, never did a day in prison. And if you read the newspaper articles, his jury, not me, his jury says, we feel sick to our stomach that we just let a killer go. His jury said it. That brother got acquitted by a jury because there was no one to confirm the witness testimony there was no witness corroboration, and he had a lawyer on his jury, and that lawyer would not let that go. There is no corroboration from this witness's testimony. No one is corroborating it. I wasn't going to say nothing because I came from a culture where that ain't what you do. Right. And so that brother got acquitted, and they booked me because of my name.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, he got acquitted, and there's a such thing as double jeopardy in America, so he can't never be retried. That brother can't never be retried. And knowing that, he ain't never come and say, Honore was not guilty. He ain't never come and say, man, that brother didn't do it. I did. He could have said that the day he walked out of court and got me out of prison. And he didn't do that.
And he was
for whatever reason.
Was he a part of Garden Block as well?
Yeah, for 29th Street. And I mean, I don't got no ill will because that's a part of the game. You know, he survived it just like I went and did my time and survived it. And he ain't gonna tell him nothing about me just like I ain't telling him nothing about him. So, you know, I'm not saying this to say, you know, fuck him. I'm just saying this to say there's a certain ridiculousness on a blood or a family member hating me so much when what they really hating is that I'm successful, bro. Yeah. They hating that I'm successful because the nigga that killed their people, that nigga went home on May 17th, 1996, and they know it. They was at that trial every motherfucking day. They know he did it, and they know that he went free, but it was easy to yell fuck X-rated because I wasn't coming home, and that meant you didn't have to go do nothing. But right. It's fuck me, and who got a problem with me, even though everybody knew what time it was. So now that I'm home, I'm looking at all this, you know, it's a lot of love from the people, but it's a lot of hate in the streets that's not rational because I never checked that hate. I was never willing to tell the people in the street what really occurred because they should have knew already if they was really from the street. Right. So now that I'm home, I'm like, come on, man, that's a joke. It's not legal for me to have ever went to prison. I'm supposed to still accept somebody saying fuck me because of this crime. Like, it's not even capable for me to have been found guilty. Yeah. That's how innocent I was.
Right. What now, during that process, because I hear the passion in your voice, during that process right there, was that when you either got to the mindset or the conclusion, like, in a past interview with Vlad TV, you said like gangs were parasitic. Was that when you start forming that ideology towards things, or did that come later?
Nah, that came way later. That I was, for 1992, I get convicted in 1996, and I got sentenced, I got sold to the state. I want to tell you something. I'm gonna answer your question, but when you get sentenced in California, I did the entire state, but the country. But when you get sentenced in the state of California, you don't get sentenced under the penal code. You get sentenced under the commercial code. Under the penal code, that's punishments. But under the commercial code, that's transactions. So what's happening is your county is selling you to the state because Abraham Lincoln with the 13th Amendment made slavery legal still in the United States as punishment for a crime. And so the courts are actually selling the people that have been convicted to the state. And that's why it's you sentenced under the commercial code. And I learned that later in the game, and that's where I started understanding the parasitic nature of the whole system and the parasitic nature of the gang culture and the street culture, that we being preyed upon in a way that's deeply ahead of our psychology. But when I first went to the pen, man, it was crip or die, period. That was how I felt. I felt like, what's the point? And it not being crip or die when I just went through all of this, got convicted, only to get to the pen. And the very first incident I was involved in was blood on white and Hispanic business that was mandatory crip participation. Like, we had to help the blood or else. And that was the cold learning experience that I had, where it made me understand almost immediately that I just got through in a trash can over some shit that didn't even apply to the environment that I just got to.
The same people you supposed to be beefing and killing or whatever, however person want to on the outside. In here, we together.
In here, we gotta be together. Mandatory. It was black politics, African American politics. No matter how we treated each other, if somebody else mistreated an African and you didn't help him, you were going to die. Death. Period. And so it was death not to assist your brother in that environment, no matter what color his rag was, red, green, or blue, purple, orange, and whatever that rag was. If you didn't help him, you might not want to go outside again. And even then, your celly was going to have to do it. That was who was going to get the order, even if he was your blood relative. He was going to get the instruction. That dude you live with must die, period. And so it was that kind of party. And I knew immediately, like, well, damn, ain't that ironic?
Yeah, that's crazy, because you actually answer the question, because I was going to ask you, how did that process going on, like the racial tension, and hearing a lot about, going in there and the racial tension, making certain clicks and people seeing like, damn, I'm outside beefing with this person, then they come in here, it's just totally different. Like, so all those, I'm not going to say little bitty because those are massive, major things to have to experience, especially at that age. But all those, I guess, bulletin points on the outline is what started slowly forming the parasitic mindset. And while you were in there, did you, like preach that to the other ones that was coming in and those that was around you?
I think that everybody knew it. That rule was so powerful, it wasn't a secret. That wasn't a secret rule. And I'm empathetic toward the white brothers and the Mexican brothers, Hispanic brothers. Them dudes will come to prison and not have a drop of racial hatred in their heart. But if they didn't push with their people, they was going to die. And so that serpent that was operating that particular mechanism in our psychology, whatever that parasitic organism was, when I say a parasite is an organism that lives in, on, or within another organism and survives off of it without regard for the survival of its host. That literally is that's what it is. It didn't give a fuck if we lived or died. It was going to keep pushing. The politics was going to keep living. It don't require us to continue to perpetuate itself. So I would tell people who came in, hey, this is what time it is out here. But that was mandatory orientation anyway. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew already. You're going to help your people, and you're going to be with your people first, no matter what occurs. And so the question was, how do we get that knowledge to the streets? But that was much later, like trying to make people aware, like, hey, man, this ain't a sustainable psychology. The behavior you got going to put you somewhere. It's like college and high school. You go to high school and learn a gang of garbage. And then you go to college and find out that your professor wants you to forget all that shit they just taught you. When you learn history, American history in high school, you go to college, as a college student, the first thing your history professor going to tell you is to forget all that bullshit they just taught you in high school. And you got a whole new education coming.
Right.
And that's how it was. And from the streets was high school, and you get to the pen and it's college, and you find out that everything that you thought was true, all your whole education was full of shit. It just wasn't true. And so that you could live with that knowledge for years and years, and it could make you real bitter because you realize some of your decisions was pointless, and that what you believed to be worthy of representation needed to be modified. Because now it's like, well, damn, we still beefing with each other, but I can't let nobody else do nothing to the brother. Then what the fuck is the point of me hating him? I started feeling that shit. I used to, man, Gangsta Red from Bounty Hunters was one of my closest niggas, man. I love that nigga, bro. And I used to wonder, like, what the fuck would I have to... I remember one time I got in a little melee with the Bloods and Crips, and didn't nobody even want to use weapons. But the politics made it where we had to fight each other. So we went out there on some squabbling it up with no weapons, though.
Yeah.
And the morning before we had to go outside, this nigga named Blue from Inglewood family, he was my neighbor. He used to, make some food, drop it off. I cook something, hit him. He was my neighbor. And so we broke bread or drop a sack off, let him blow. Like, here, Blue. And, man, the day before we got into it, the nigga came to me with tears in his eyes, gave me a hug, and told me he loved me, man. You a good nigga, bro. I love you, my nigga. And then we went out in the morning and got down. Everybody had to get out. And it's like, that don't even make no fucking sense, bro.
Yeah. Do you think, now, of course, listening to you, and this, from the outside looking in, key words that I heard you say, from a rational, logical perspective, do you feel like some of the individuals that you trying to get, possibly from your side, to look at it from a rational point of view, do you think it's more of a pride thing, or is it just too much street politics bleeding over into the music where it just can't be accepted and congratulate someone for their accomplishments, or it just went too far and it's no point of return?
I don't believe in nothing that the such thing as the point of no return, because we come from a strong people, and so we could decide anything we want at any minute and give ourselves permissions at any minute. And I'm gonna help people grant that. But one thing I do know is it's the same thing about the Mogwai. The Mogwai was cute and fluffy, my nigga Gizmo, until he got wet. And sometimes they say wet him up. You shoot somebody, they bleed, the shirt is wet. And so the Mogwai got wet. And after that, Raymond Washington, Tukey Williams, and the brothers from the Pyrus in Compton, where this happened at, that originated in all our wars, that's the same thing happening in the South Side and from Oak Park, and between Oak Park and the block, as people continue to, people getting harmed. And as people get harmed, now you're not fighting over what the original thing was. I'm watching this documentary about Vietnam. And you got them brothers was out there, didn't give a fuck about America. America didn't give a fuck about no Negroes. At the time, they still fighting for voter rights. And Vietnam was going on through when Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. Right. And them brothers had to decide, what do they fight for? If you're not fighting for America, you fighting for what? Muhammad Ali say, ain't no Viet Cong ever called me no nigger, right?
Right.
So if you did go to Vietnam and didn't have the ability to fight like Muhammad Ali did, then who was you fighting for once you got there? If you wasn't fighting for this country that people believed hated them, you had to be fighting for that brother standing next to you. You had to say, well, fuck it then, I'm fighting for this brother right here. And that's a psychological aid that we use in order to justify how we survive in a rational experience or something that is in conflict with our psychology. And so right now, out in the street, people feel like fuck Mozzie over things that's happened that's attached to that rotten fruit. And see, I can't unknow that the roots is rotten. So I'm not willing to eat that fruit. I keep saying the origins of this issue is rotten. It's satanic, bro. And so I have to accept insanity and I have to accept the satanic psychology in order to eat the fruit. I'm not willing to do that, man. I just did 26 years worth of eating that garbage, nigga.
Right.
I'm not eating that shit. And so what I'm going to say right now is I will give permission to any youngsters from my neighborhood that is willing to understand that they don't need to participate in that bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't got to do that. And it ain't my place to tell them, but I'll tell any youngster from Oak Park that's willing to hear me tell them you ain't got to participate in that bullshit. Concentrate on your kids, get your money, live your life, make sure you available for your parents, nigga. I got a homeboy named Ron from Neighborhood 60s, nigga from Rolling 60s. And that nigga was about to go to board to beg for his motherfucking freedom and show these people his accomplishments, and his mama died. His mama died the week before he went to board, and she died of an illness that had progressively killed her, and that nigga wasn't out to take care of his mama. Nigga, because it's some stupid-ass decisions, the stupid-ass beefs that we got going on between A-Trade gangsters and neighborhood 60s. That's been going on forever, long-ass wars, like my big homie Sanyika Shakur put out there years ago. And I got niggas mentors on both sides of that rap. I got mentors on the 60 side and mentors on the A-Trade gangster side. And I know intimately that it's that brother standing next to you now. It's the fruit from the rotten tree. And so these things could go on forever. Who wants to be locked up and can't take care of you? Your mama healthy, 30 years old, 35, 40, 60 years old right now, nigga, but 20 years from now, when she old and ain't nobody to bring her no groceries and ain't no nigga, you gonna regret it. With your kids, when you find out your daughter hoeing, nigga, while you in the pen and can't protect your child, your daughter done got felt up at somebody's house, nigga. When you ain't available, it's gonna start making sense that these errors are not worth it. So this is right now where we got to be telling the little homies, man, make the decision right now. Educate yourself. Focus on your family. Be from where you from, nigga. Represent the block. Represent Oak Park. Represent Meadowview. Be from where you from, but be an asset to where you from. Handle your motherfucking business. Be relevant. And so that's what I'm saying. Anybody that feel like that shit don't need to be participated in, nigga, I'll tell you on my mama, fuck that shit. You ain't got to participate in that shit. It ain't your job to avenge and retaliate on nobody for somebody. Mind your motherfucker. Go and handle your business for your life and elevate above this bullshit. Don't let these old-ass miserable niggas sacrifice your life. Don't let no parasitic organism encourage you to get devoured and not matter no more and move on with their motherfucking lives while you dead and your family grieve, or you in prison and your family grieve and they don't even give a fuck. All they do is wear a T-shirt and shout your dead ass, jail, locked up ass out every now and then, nigga. That ain't valuable, nigga. Exactly. That ain't worth it.
It kind of, what you just saying right now, say for instance, if you were looking back at yourself at 17, 18 when you said you was like fully engulfed in that's your past mindset, because obviously you have grown 1,000 times past that mindset of when you were 17, 18, 19 years old. Would that be your approach of how you would say it to the youth to try to get them to get on the right track? Because I'm, of course, out here doing quote-unquote media, and for some reason in the hip-hop, of course, direct correlation to the streets, for some reason it's been this big gap in between the OGs and the YGs everywhere. The young, they're not respecting the OGs. The OGs don't have no time to speak to because they feel like they hard-headed, they don't want to listen. So now the information not getting passed back and forth. With the information now, knowing the mindset that you was in there, like, no disrespect, but you know how you said super headstrong, I'm crip or die, this and that. How can you get through to a person at that age?